Welcome to the Vertical Sky Journal, the podcast that brings you everything you could ever want to know about Kilimanjaro. The climbing and the fitness, altitude and nutrition, the environment, the wildlife, and the people at the heart of the mountain. Today, the question behind every single inquiry we receive, even when it is never quite asked out loud. How hard is it, really? And could someone like you actually do it?
Yeah, that really is the fundamental question, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And well, to answer it accurately, we sort of have to look at this paradox right at the heart of the mountain. It's what we call the honest double truth.
Right.
So on one hand, Kilimanjaro is a genuinely hard mountain. I mean, it profoundly tests people, stripping away their normal comforts.
It really does.
But on the other hand, perfectly ordinary people stand on its summit every single day.
Yeah, we were talking about first-timers, people who, spend 40 hours a week at a desk.
Exactly. People who've never even worn hiking boots in anger before, booking their flight to Tanzania.
And both of those statements are entirely true at once. I think understanding why they can coexist is the absolute secret to understanding the mountain.
Spot on. But to reach that understanding, we first need to clear away a pretty massive misconception about what this mountain actually is.
Oh, yes. When you tell your family you were climbing to nearly 6,000 meters, they immediately picture a Himalayan expedition, don't they?
They absolutely do. They imagine you dangling from ropes over, bottomless crevasses.
Right.
We can dispel that myth immediately. Kilimanjaro is not a technical climb. There are no ropes.
No.
There are no ice axes, no clamp-ons, and absolutely zero technical mountaineering skills required. From the gate at the bottom of the rainforest to the summit at the top, it is entirely a walk.
Just a walk.
Yeah, a long, high, remarkably beautiful walk on very well-maintained paths.
Although, there is one specific section that always catches the attention of prospective climbers reading about the routes online, and that is the Barranco Wall.
Oh, the famous wall.
Yes. People hear the word wall, and they immediately envision perilous rock climbing. Yet, the reality is quite different.
Very different.
The Barranco Wall is simply a short, hands-on scramble. It requires a bit of playground agility, really. Just stepping carefully over rocks and occasionally using your hands for balance.
Yeah, it's not specialized climbing technique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And consistently, our climbers return home calling that particular section the most enjoyable hour of the entire trip.
They really do.
If you can walk uphill for several hours, the terrain of Kilimanjaro itself holds absolutely no mysteries for you.
Which, I suppose, brings us to a fascinating contradiction. If the terrain is simply a beautiful, steep walk, we have to explain what actually makes the ascent famously difficult.
Right.
We have to look away from the ground beneath our boots and look instead to the invisible hurdle.
The air itself.
Exactly. We are ascending to Uhuru Peak, which stands at 5,895 meters above sea level.
Mm-hmm.
And at that elevation, the atmospheric pressure is remarkably low. Every breath you take delivers roughly half the oxygen you would receive standing at sea level.
Half. It's hard to wrap your head around that.
It is. The altitude is the true challenge. And it behaves in a completely democratic, slightly random manner.
What do you mean by democratic?
Well, it doesn't care about your background, your job title, or your general fitness level.
Oh.
Almost every climber will feel something mild along the way.
Like what?
They might experience a heavy head in the afternoon, maybe a restless night of sleep, or a suddenly flat appetite at dinner.
Right.
All of those symptoms are perfectly normal and entirely manageable parts of the acclimatization process.
But wait, if I am, running marathons every weekend, surely my lungs are going to handle that thin air far better than someone who barely walks to the shops.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, wouldn't my supreme cardiovascular fitness act as a shield against the altitude?
It is a completely logical assumption, but it is physiologically incorrect. We frequently see marathon runners severely struggle, while grandmothers maintaining a slow, steady pace stroll right past them.
Oh, wow. Why does that happen?
The mechanism behind this is fascinating. Your aerobic fitness dictates how efficiently your heart and lungs can move available oxygen to your muscles. But at altitude, the issue isn't your efficiency.
It's the supply.
Exactly. It is the sheer lack of atmospheric pressure driving oxygen into your bloodstream. The marathon runner often fails because their natural instinct is to push hard and move quickly, relying on their fitness.
Right, they ascend too fast for their body to adapt.
Yes, while the slower walker succeeds because they allow their physiology the time it desperately needs to adjust, When you are exposed to high altitude, your body has to literally manufacture more red blood cells to carry what little oxygen is available.
And that takes time.
It takes days. You cannot rush it by simply being fitter.
So, because altitude doesn't respect fitness, we must employ the antidote that it does respect.
Mm-hmm.
And that antidote is time.
Exactly. Time on the mountain is the single biggest factor in summit success, quite simply because time is exactly what acclimatization is made of.
This is precisely why we firmly steer our climbers toward the 7- and 8-day itineraries.
Yeah, shorter routes certainly exist, and they might save you a little money, but they drastically reduce your body's window to adapt. We utilize climb high, sleep low topographies,
Right, so you walk to a higher elevation during the day.
which triggers the acclimatization process by stressing the body. And then you descend to a lower camp to sleep, giving your body the oxygen-rich environment it needs to recover and build those new red blood cells.
We also conduct health checks twice a day, every single day. And I think it's worth mentioning, during those checks, telling the absolute truth to your guides is paramount.
I cannot stress that enough. Masking a headache out of bravery doesn't help you at all. It only hides vital information from the people trained to keep you safe.
Right.
Our guides use those readings to track your adaptation over time.
Which ties into the golden rule of Kilimanjaro, doesn't it? Pull, pull, pull.
Pull, pull, pull.
In Swahili, this translates to slowly, slowly.
Mm.
It is crucial to understand that pull, pull is not a catchy marketing slogan.
No, it really isn't.
It is an uncompromising strategy for survival and success. Walking slowly is never a compromise on the mountain.
It actually requires immense discipline to walk slower than your body feels capable of walking, especially on the lower slopes where the air is still relatively thick and you feel full of energy.
Yeah, you just want to power ahead.
Exactly. But that slow pace manages your heart rate, prevents sweating, and wards off exhaustion. And beyond the altitude, there is another quiet difficulty that climbers face, which is the sheer accumulation of the experience.
Yes, the accumulation. You are facing a long week of 6 to 9 days of continuous walking. You are sleeping in tents, waking up early every morning, managing your hygiene in a bowl of warm water, and dealing with unpredictable mountain weather.
It adds up.
It really does. No single day on the approach is exceptionally extreme, but the days accumulate. I like to think of a climber's resilience as an energy bank account.
That is a brilliant analogy. And that energy bank account is exactly how we approach our expedition design.
Right.
Every comfort we provide on the mountain serves a distinct medical and psychological purpose, feeding directly into that account.
Yeah, when we insist on providing proper nutritious food, thick mattresses for the tents, private toilets, and a highly attentive crew, we aren't trying to create unnecessary mountain luxury.
Not at all.
A good night's sleep on a thick mattress is a vital deposit into your energy bank account. A warm, easily digestible meal is another deposit.
Because every time you skip a meal or sleep poorly, you are making a massive withdrawal from that account long before you reach the final test.
Exactly. By day 5, when the altitude is pressing down and the fatigue is accumulating, you will need all those saved deposits.
Because all of that careful pacing, the eating, the resting, and the gradual acclimatization have been meticulously designed for one specific reason.
Summit night.
Summit night. They prepare you for the ultimate, unavoidable crucible of the mountain. And we must speak with brutal honesty about summit night. It is incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And it is entirely designed to be that way.
When you look at the itinerary for summit night, it always raises eyebrows. Why do we ask climbers to begin this final, punishing ascent in the freezing dark before midnight?
It sounds mad, doesn't it?
To a novice, waking up at 11 at night to climb a mountain seems entirely counterintuitive.
Well, we start before midnight for a few critical strategic reasons. First, the scree slopes near the summit are steep and composed of loose volcanic ash. At night, they freeze solid.
Which provides much better traction.
Exactly. When they melt in the midday sun, it feels like walking up a sand dune.
That sounds miserable on tired legs.
It is. Second, and more importantly, starting early ensures that climbers can reach the summit, celebrate, and crucially, descend to a safe, highly oxygenated altitude before the late afternoon weather rolls in.
Right. But the sensory reality of that midnight start is demanding. You wake in the pitch dark. You dress in every single layer of clothing you have brought with you.
Every single one.
You step out of your tent into temperatures that are well below freezing, and you begin to climb. For hours upon hours, you walk on tired legs through the thinnest air you have ever breathed.
And the visual isolation during those hours is profound. You are guided only by the small pool of light cast by your head torch.
Yeah.
You cannot see the peak above you, which is actually a blessing, as the scale of the task remains hidden. You can only see the boots of the person directly in front of you.
It becomes a deeply internal battle, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
You are placing one foot in front of the other in the cold and the dark, retreating entirely into your own mind.
And then, after hours of this intense internal struggle, the sky begins to pale.
The stars fade.
Yeah, and you arrive at the crater rim just as the sun rises over the African continent. The emotional release of that moment is staggering.
It is. We regularly see people who haven't shed a tear in 20 years break down and cry at Uhuru Peak.
It is an overwhelming release of tension, exhaustion, and pure elation.
For the vast majority of our climbers, it is the hardest physical and mental task they have ever completed. That extreme difficulty is precisely why the summit means so much. The triumph is perfectly proportional to the struggle.
When you describe that intense physical and mental drain at 5,800 meters, it immediately makes me wonder how anyone sitting at a desk all week can possibly prepare their body for it.
Right.
If you're listening to this and wondering how you can prepare for that midnight climb while living a normal life, what is the practical truth?
The reality of the fitness required is remarkably reassuring, actually. You need to be fitter than the sofa, but you need to be less fit than you likely fear.
Fitter than the sofa. I like that.
Yeah, as we discussed earlier, marathon fitness isn't required, nor is heavy weightlifting.
We use a very specific 12-week benchmark for our climbers. You should aim to be comfortable walking uphill for 4 to 6 hours with a day pack on your back.
Yes, and you must be able to wake up the next morning and do it again without feeling utterly broken.
Building towards regular long hill walks in the exact boots you intend to climb in is the perfect preparation. General cardiovascular exercise during the week will also give your heart an easier time when it's working hard in the thin air.
However, there is a great irony in how people prepare for mountains. Everyone obsessively focuses their imagination and their physical training on the climb up.
Yeah, they train their lungs and their calves for the ascent, visualizing the summit, but it is the descent that actually wrecks the legs.
Oh, entirely.
It's the part nobody trains for and absolutely everybody feels. Descending nearly 6,000 meters over 2 days requires immense eccentric muscle control.
Yep.
Your muscles are lengthening while under tension, and your knees and your quadriceps bear the brunt of your entire body weight with every single step down. Therefore, your practical readiness must include leg strength training, specifically focused on downhill movement.
Absolutely vital. But, physical preparation is only half the equation. We must talk about the part of the expedition that rarely makes it into the glossy brochures.
The mind.
The mind. By day 5 on the mountain, everyone's legs still work. The physical mechanics of walking remain intact. What truly gets tested is the head.
We call it the 2 in the morning doubt.
Yes.
It happens on summit night in the freezing dark when the physical discomfort peaks. A voice in your head will tell you that you don't belong there.
It will tell you to turn around, to go back to the warm tent, to abandon the attempt.
Everyone hears that voice.
Overcoming that doubt is the true crux of Kilimanjaro. And crucially, you don't silence that voice alone. 2 forces work together to pull you through. The first is your group. There is a very specific reason why strangers who meet at the gate on day 1 end up hugging like family at the summit.
Shared adversity bonds people instantly.
It does. When your internal motivation falters, the collective determination of group carries you forward. You find yourself walking not just for your own summit, but for the person struggling beside you.
And the second force is your guides. Our guides have walked thousands of people through that exact moment of despair. They are masters of mountain psychology.
They really are. They know precisely when you need a cup of hot sweet tea. They know when you need a strict 3-minute rest.
And most importantly, they know when you need to be told, kindly but very firmly, that you are doing far better than you think you are. You do not climb this mountain alone.
The team, the crew, and the guides are the structural support that makes the summit possible for ordinary people. They carry the logistical burden, so you can focus entirely on putting one foot in front of the other.
Which brings us to our honest closing take. Nobody ever feels entirely ready for a mountain they have never climbed.
No, never.
If you wait until you feel zero apprehension, you will wait forever. But the truthful test is much smaller than you might imagine. It boils down to this. Can you commit to 12 weeks of dedicated walking And can you commit to 8 days of simply doing exactly what your guides ask of you?
If you can honestly answer yes to those two questions, then standing on the roof of Africa is no longer a question of whether you can.
It merely becomes a question of when you will.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, do subscribe so you never miss the latest from the Vertical Sky Journal. You will find a full written version of this episode over on our journal at vertical-sky.com, and we would love you to come and say hello on Instagram, where we are at verticalskytzw. Until next time, pole, and keep dreaming of the mountain.